All right, let's dive into the life of one of America's most important and honestly, most complicated founders, Thomas Jefferson. He was a man of absolutely brilliant ideas, but also deep contradictions. And his story, well, it's pretty central to understanding the United States.
You know these words, right? They're some of the most famous ever written in American history. A really powerful statement about freedom and human rights.
But who was the guy who actually put pen to paper and wrote them? Well, his name was Thomas Jefferson, and his story is just full of incredible ideas, some really bold actions, and, as we'll see, some very serious contradictions.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the powerful words that basically launched a nation. Then, we'll get into the huge decisions he made as president. After that, we'll explore his super curious mind as an inventor. And finally, we're going to tackle the complicated legacy he left behind for all of us to think about.
Okay, let's start with Jefferson the writer. You know, before he was ever president, he was famous for his words. And these were words that could literally inspire a revolution.
So, picture this. It's 1776, and the American colonies are ready to break away from Great Britain. They needed somebody to write down exactly why. And who did they pick? A 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson. He was handed this huge task of drafting the Declaration of Independence, which was basically America's official breakup letter to the King of England. And Jefferson filled this document with some seriously revolutionary ideas. He argued that every single person is born equal, that we all have basic rights that can't just be taken away. And, this was a big one, that a government only has power because the people let it have power. I mean, at the time, these ideas were totally groundbreaking, even dangerous.
Jefferson was also really passionate about another kind of freedom, religious freedom. He believed that what you think or what you believe spiritually should be completely, 100% free from any government control.
And think about what that really meant back then. Before a law he wrote in Virginia, you could actually be forced to pay taxes to support a state church, even if you didn't agree with its teachings at all. Jefferson's law changed everything. It separated church and state, and for the first time, it established that your beliefs are your own business, not the government's. A total game changer.
So, fast forward a bit. As the third U.S. president, Jefferson didn't just write about big ideas anymore. He took massive actions that physically changed what the country would look like forever.
What do you think you could get for $15 million? Well, back in 1803, Thomas Jefferson could get you a whole lot of land.
Yep, this is the Louisiana Purchase. He struck a deal with Napoleon Bonaparte of France that literally doubled the size of the United States. It's considered one of the greatest land deals in all of history, securing this huge territory west of the Mississippi and basically paving the way for America to expand westward. But Jefferson's curiosity was just as big as the land he'd just bought. He didn't just want to own it, he wanted to understand it. And that's exactly why he sent an expedition, led by Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, to go explore this enormous new territory, all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And what they came back with was just incredible. Their 2-year journey gave America its first accurate maps of the area, super detailed notes on hundreds of new plants and animals, and really important information about the Native American tribes who already called the West their home.
So on top of being a writer and a president, Jefferson was a true innovator. I mean, his mind was just always working, always curious, and always creating something new.
For example, Jefferson was a really skilled architect. We're talking about a person who designs buildings and then oversees their construction. And he wasn't just messing around. His vision really shaped the look of the brand new nation. The range of stuff he was into is kind of staggering. He designed his own amazing home, Monticello. He designed the entire campus for the University of Virginia. He invented a better plow to help farmers. He was one of America's first paleontologists. That means he studied ancient animal bones. And he even had this cool machine that would copy his letters as he wrote them. The guy's curiosity had no limits.
So what about this number? Over 6,000. What do you think that represents? It's how many books were in Jefferson's personal library. He actually once said, "I cannot live without books."
And his passion for books had a massive impact on the whole country. When the original Library of Congress was burned down, Jefferson sold his entire personal collection, all 6,000+ books, to the government to get it started again. His books became the new foundation for what is now the largest library in the entire world. But we can't tell the story of Jefferson without talking about the most difficult part of his life. And this is where his incredible ideals crashed right into a very harsh reality.
Remember where we started? With these words. A powerful, timeless statement about universal equality. It's one of the bedrock principles of America.
And here is the great contradiction. Thomas Jefferson, the very man who wrote that all men are created equal, was a slaveholder. Over the course of his life, he enslaved more than 600 people.
His entire estate, Monticello, everything, it was all run by the forced labor of enslaved men, women, and children. He wrote privately that slavery was a moral depravity, that it was an evil practice, but he continued to profit from it his entire life and only freed a very small number of people in his will.
So his legacy is incredibly complex. In a strange twist of fate, he died on July 4th, 1826, exactly 50 years to the day after the Declaration of Independence was adopted. His face is on our money and carved into a mountain. His ideas about liberty are still so important. But he is a deeply flawed figure, someone who fought for freedom while denying it to hundreds of others.
And that leaves us with a final, really important question. How do we make sense of a person who gave America some of its most powerful ideas about freedom while at the same time taking part in one of its greatest injustices? It's a question historians still wrestle with, and it's definitely one worth thinking about.